So, a few days ago, I saw the latest Saints Row game on sale, and I thought to myself, well, it's been a while since it dropped, and I heard that it had a few issues at launch, but it's been a few years now, so I'm sure the game is now fixed and the performance issues should be ironed out. Well, I booted up the game and let's just say this video title was going to be playing Saints Row Reboot in 2025. And it's turned into me trying to understand where it all went so damn wrong for Saints Row. Because Saints Row Reboot didn't just stumble, it face planted. And honestly, it didn't need to be this way. So, today, let's go through exactly why the Saints Row Reboot failed. And why, when I call a game bad, I will be using this game as a reference point on what a bad game really is. Because this is the saddest thing I've ever played and seen. But let's take a step back to the past. The Saints Row series, particularly the early entries from 2006 to 2013, emerged as a bold action-adventure franchise developed by Volition and published by THQ, setting itself apart in the open-world genre through exaggerated voice, humor, and player agency. Launched in 2006 for the Xbox 360, it quickly gained a cult following for its unapologetic embrace of absurdity, contrasting the most grounded narratives of contemporaries like Grand Theft Auto. What made these classic installments, Saints Row, Saints Row 2, and Saints Row the Third, iconic was their fusion of over-the-top chaos, inventive mission design, memorable character ensembles, and a deliberate divergence from the realism of Rockstar's GTA series, creating a sandbox world that prioritized fun and satire over moral ambiguity. This identity resonated with players seeking escapist mayhem, influencing gaming culture by normalizing hyper-stylized crime epics. The franchise's roots trace back to Volition's earlier work on the Red Faction series, but Saints Row innovated by blending vehicular combat, gang warfare, and customization in a fictional city inspired by Chicago and Detroit, known as Stillwater. By Saints Row 2, the series amplified its scale, introducing co-op play and deeper customization, which cemented its reputation for rewarding chaotic creativity. Saints Row the Third pushed boundaries further, relocating to Steelport, a parody of Las Vegas and Detroit, with missions that satirized pop culture, from dildo bats to celebrity cameos, embodying the series' ethos of unrestrained lunacy. These elements not only defined the classics, but also highlighted Volition's commitment to player-driven narratives, where absurdity trumped realism. The iconic status of classic Saints Row stems from its masterful blend of chaos, missions, characters, and GTA independent identity. These games refined open-world fun. So, this series used to be the king of unhinged fun. So what exactly happened? Well, in 2022, the Saints Row franchise was rebooted, developed by Volition and published by Deep Silver, now under Embracer Group. Which explains a lot, but who am I to judge? I don't know what's going on in there. Aimed to revitalize the series by returning to its roots as a street-level crime saga, while appealing to broader audience. However, the reboot faced significant backlash from longtime fans, who accused it of ditching the core identity of the series in favor of a new direction that prioritized modern sensibilities over the established tone and characters. Though, The reboot's origins traces back to Volition's post-Saints Row 4 dilemma. The series had escalated into absurd territory, with superpowers, alien invasions, and a galactic empire, leaving little narrative runway for follow-ups. They should have just gone the Fast and Furious route, fight in space. What's stopping them from doing that? Oh wait, nah, they haven't done that yet, but they could have done that. Volition opted for a full reboot to start fresh, introducing a new cast and setting in the fictional city of St. Ilios. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Iloso, inspired by Las Vegas and the American Southwest. The goal was a grounded crime story blending drama and comedy, targeting both legacy fans and newcomers. The reboot's tone aimed to recapture Saints Row 2's grit with Saints Row 3's humor. However, critics noted a shift towards quirky corporate TikTok humor.
Balls. Cow balls. Goddamn cow balls and
The dialogue feeling like focus group interns rather than hardened criminals. The identity crisis stemmed from a misguided new direction that alienated fans by shifting from edgy satire to quirky, relatable humor, redesigning characters as interns over criminals, and prioritizing broad appeal over series DNA. While ambitious, it failed to balance legacy and innovation, resulting in middling reviews and sales. The Saints Row reboot's writing has been criticized for relying on superficial humor that lacks the sharp, self-referential edge of earlier titles, often manifesting as forced quirkiness that undermines narrative tension. In the original series, jokes were integrated into the absurdity of scenarios, creating a cohesive blend of chaos and commentary. The reboot, however, introduces millennial tropes such as roommate banter and social media quips that feel shoehorned. This forced quirkiness extended to side activities, leading to reviews considering it as bland and uninspired. Which, I get. You want to have the game's humor to reflect current pop culture, and that's normal. But I think it really falls flat when it isn't delivered well. And I will say this, voice acting is a major part of immersing players. And the voice acting in this game is very monotone and uninspiring.
come out with your hands up.
Not today.
Oh, fuck.
The actors sounded like they didn't know what scenes they were voicing. And that could just be a problem because of poor direction. I don't know. But it's very obvious, and it's a major flaw as to why the game is horrible in my opinion. Moreover, the writing's attempt at quirkiness often clashes with the game's violent core, creating cognitive dissonance, making the tone feel erratic. This stems from a rushed development cycle, where Volition's original Saints Row 2.5 version, balancing grit and comedy, was overridden by publisher demands for a upbeat friendship story, resulting in underdeveloped arcs. The reboot's new ensemble, entrepreneurial Eli, thrill seeker Kevin, and driver Nina, lacks synergy, with interactions feeling scripted and superficial. Eli's business acumen clashes awkwardly with Kevin's Leroy Jenkinness, resulting in dialogue exchanges that prioritize exposition over report. This shortfall exacerbated by publisher-mandated changes where original plots featuring returning characters like Gat were scrapped for a fresh cast. Also, the reboot's stakes never feel real, a critical flaw that hollows out the narrative's impact and contrasts sharply with the high-tension betrayals of earlier games. In Saints Row 2, personal vendettas like avenging the player's coma drove urgent, consequence-laden plots, where losses like Lynn's death carried weight. This unrealism arises from the upbeat mandate, shifting from gang warfare to startup success, where threats like corporate takeovers feel trivial amid cartoonish violence. The original series balanced absurdity with stakes via character arcs. Here, the new cast backstories are mentioned but unexplored, leading to meaningless progression. Comparatively, the original series' stakes felt visceral through player agency. The reboot's linear structure limits this, making victories hollow. At the heart of Saints Row's identity lies its third-person shooting, a staple since 2006 that evolved into over-the-top absurdity in later entries. The 2022 reboot strips back superpowers for a more tactical approach, emphasizing cover-based firefights and a flow system for special abilities like grenades or wall-piercing shots. However, the gunplay felt floaty and unresponsive, with aiming mechanics feeling dated compared to contemporaries like Far Cry 6 or Watch Dogs Legion. Saints Row's open world tries to visually impress, but it felt empty and lacked immersion. Realistically, the moment I got into the open world, it looked and felt like a mobile game in the late 2010s. The driving exacerbates this hollowness, with car combat and physics lacking weight, as vehicles slide unrealistically and collisions feel inconsequential, especially when compared to GTA 5's responsive handling. And I know, it's GTA 5. But let's be real honest here. Saints Row should be following the foundation of GTA 5 since it's been out for so long and is very successful. So everyone should be using that as a reference point on how things should feel at the bare minimum. And now, for the performance. The game's launch was further hampered by performance-specific problems. On PC, Epic Games Launcher errors prevented smooth starts, while console versions exhibited inconsistent frame rates. By September 2022, the studio reported over 1 million players, but emphasized its ongoing fixes, signaling that launch quality fell short of expectations. The technical mess of Saints Row Reboot exemplified how bugs can derail a game's launch, blending animation errors, AI failures, and progression blockers into a frustrating experience. While patches mitigated many issues, the initial release's instability led to middling reviews and sales below 2 million. Though Volition's efforts post-launch showed commitment, the damage had already been done due to the risk of rushed optimization amid external pressures like COVID-19 and publishers, but we'll use the COVID-19 excuse for this. By the way, whatever optimization things they did, it worked. Unfortunately, the game is fundamentally a boring and bland game. The moment I started playing the game, it felt like I'm clocking into a 9-to-5 job I hate. And I specify hate. Because some people like their jobs. But other people do their jobs because they got bills to pay. This is what this game felt like. None of it showed like anyone had passion. Not the voice actors, not the developers, not the managers, not even the publishers, let's be real. Volition intended the reboot as a fresh start to address the franchise's narrative exhaustion after Saints Row 4's cosmic absurdity. Their marketing for Saints Row's reboot promised a return to classic roots, blending humor and action to recapture the franchise's chaotic spirit while broadening appeal. However, trailers overemphasized bombast without previewing the grounded, millennial-focused narrative, leading to backlash for lacking the series' signature edge. This misalignment alienated loyal fans' nostalgia for absurd antics, wild execution, bugs, repetitive missions, and uneven tone failed to hook newcomers. The sale of over 1.7 million units marked the franchise low, contributing to Volition's 2023 closure. Ultimately, Saints Row's reboot's failure to capture the original essence stemmed from overcorrecting its edgy humor for modernity, resulting in a grounded tone that felt soulless and disconnected from the franchise's satirical core. While aiming to broaden appeal, it alienated fans without attracting new ones, leading to poor sales and the inevitable shutdown of Volition. The Saints Row reboot didn't fail because the series needed to evolve. It failed because it evolved into something unrecognizable. But have you played the Saints Row reboot? Do you think if another Saints Row drop, it will do well even if it's a good game? Let me know in the comments, and please be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.